Guys, welcome back to another video. Today we have a new deck profile featuring the Despian archetype, Despia, Despian, whatever you want to call it, and featuring Shaddolls. Now, Despia is a fusion sort of deck, so it works very well with Shaddolls, and it's actually a pretty strong archetype. It somewhat has like Shaddoll vibes, where it's able to recur stuff and constantly gain advantage. Um, and the two decks actually work surprisingly well. I should just start getting to explaining each card one by one, and hopefully you get a little idea. So we're not running too many Despia cards. Well, not cards, monsters. We're running a decent amount of spells and traps. Dramaturgia of Despia. This card is able to summon itself from the graveyard if it is used as fusion material, and it is able to negate the effects of a monster if another fusion, link, synchro, or exceeds monster is summoned. So basically, it can occasionally negate something and it's able to recur itself. Well, the main reason I'm running it too is because you don't have too many forms of interruption unless you like get something super strong. Wait, why do I have Appaloosa in here? Ignore the Appaloosa, but you kind of have to rely on getting something super strong for well, Dramaturgia does require multiple cards to set up, so that's why I'm running it too, but it is a pretty nice card. Next up we have probably the best Despia card, Albert Jester of Despia. When it's normal special summon, you can search a Stigmatica spell or trap, of which we are playing two, Stigmatica Curtain Raise and Stigmatica Theater. Theater is kind of like a fusion spell, and Curtain Raise is able to summon a Despia from your deck. So, in a way, since it's able to search a fusion spell, it can somewhat looks like Alistair type of vibes, but not exactly. It also has a second effect where it's able to float when a fusion monster you control is destroyed by battle or card effect. So that is pretty nice, gets you extra recursion in that sense. So pretty nice card. I'll get over the spells and traps later. Despian of Tragedy. This card is pretty strong if it's sent to the graveyard or banished by a card effect. So not only if it's sent to the graveyard for a fusion summon, even if it's banished of Schism or something, you're able to search any Despia monster from your deck to your hand. So you can search something like Dramaturgia, Albert, if you want to somewhat form a little bit of resource loop, since Albert searches Curtain Raise searches Tragedy searches Albert for next turn. You can somewhat call it a resource loop, but I wouldn't exactly call it. But it also has a graveyard effect where it's able to banish itself in order to search recover a Stigmatica spell or trap from your graveyard. That's not a bad effect, but if you have access to Schism, it's getting banished. And, well, since Curtain Raise is a quick play spell, you will not be able to activate it the turn it is set, unfortunately. So its graveyard effect, well, it's less significant than its main effect, but it's really strong card, being able to generate that extra advantage. And searching Albert is another like really good thing. That's just it for our Despian monsters. For Shaddoll monsters, we're running one Beast, one Dragon, triple Schemata, one Aerial, triple Wendy, and one Hedgehog. I'm just running each of them at one. Well, since it is a hybrid deck, you are not going to like consistently need access to the Shaddolls necessarily, and if you need access to them, Schemata and Wendy can act as those kind of like rooting stations, I might call them. That's kind of your. I'm just running one of each. You kind of get my point. Schemata and Wendy. I should probably cut Wendy to 2 since it can't be used as fusion material for the Despian fusion. So I'd probably cut this to 2 if I had to. Schemata is your main vocal point. It's able to it can be used as a fusion material for the Despian fusion, and it is also able to dump extra cards and act as any of this. So you'd probably cut one Wendy for something else. But that's kind of the Shaddoll monsters should be pretty self-explanatory. Probably best card in deck, Stigmatica Curtain Raise. It's a discarded card, and then you can either add a Despia from your deck to your hand or special summon that Despia in defense position. And the thing about this card, it doesn't discard for cost, it discards for effect. So all your Shaddoll monsters will trigger, your tragedy will trigger. All of that will get their effects off, which is really strong. It does lock you into fusions, but that is not a problem in the fusion deck. Um, just really, really strong card. It's also able to protect your fusion monsters from card effect destruction, which is super strong. So you can even do that in a graveyard, which is really nice. Kind of get why this is really strong. You're usually going to summon an Albert if you and it's also searchable off Albert too, which is really cool. If you searched it off Albert, you're going to either get a Dramaturgia or a Tragedy depending on the situation. And yeah, that's kind of it. You're usually summoning the Albert though in order to get access to the Stigmatica Theater. If you already have access to Theater, you might as well grab another for the get-go. It kind of depends on situation. The one Terraforming and 2 Theater. The Theater, it's searchable and the deck doesn't really revolve around it necessarily, so I didn't want to run 3 and the Terraforming. It's just 1 Terraforming 2. It's artificially just 3 copies of it, but it's somewhat more efficient since Terraforming is able to deck in the process. Next up we have the triple Shaddoll fusion, 1 L Shaddoll fusion, just extra fusion spells, really good. The triple Pot of Prosperity, this deck can play the Pot of Prosperity. It doesn't need every single one of its fusion cards, so you know it can do that for free. Getting the extra consistency is really important. For traps, 1 Incarnation, 1 Shaddoll Schism. Incarnation, it kind of depends on the situation, how you're using it and when. If you are kind of going the aerial cross sheep route in order to OTK, then Incarnation can come up there. It's also able to just recur your Shaddolls for free. A really good card. And Shaddoll Schism, it's inherently searchable off Construct, which is kind of your main reason for running it. And since it's a continuous trap and you can recover it from the graveyard and it's searchable, you do not really need more than 1 copy of it. Hand traps, triple Gamma, triple Lancia. The reason I chose these hand traps specifically is that they're all light, and I'm not really running any other light monsters in the main deck, so I kind of have to run these hand traps. Main deck Lancia is actually pretty good this format, so I just put that in there. For extra deck, we have the Despian Proskenium. You're never making this, just ignore it. Despian Quartus. I don't know how to spell how to pronounce it. What it does, it just needs a Despia plus a light or dark monster, so you're able to use pretty much all your Shaddolls. What it does, it's able to change the attack of all monsters to 0, so it can somewhat protect your Shaddoll Winda from battle, since if a 0 attack monster attacks another 0 attack monster, neither gets destroyed even though they're the same attack. And it also floats into a Despia monster from the deck, so you've got lots of floating, lots of recursion, which is why the Despia engine is pretty strong. Now, it's obviously not as strong as stuff like Dogmatica Invoked, but depending on the rarities of the Despia, it might be budget, I guess. It kind of depends. A double construct, pretty self-explanatory. Double construct is double construct. You're gonna make double construct. Free foolish, free recovery, destroys cards that start damage step even if they're bigger, does pretty much everything. The 1 copy of App Clone, I'm not running more than 1 since I am not running Nadir Servant or any of that, so you don't really need any more than 1. But it's a really good card since it is able to just negate the effects of a face-up card if you summon it off Schism. Sorry, I got messed up by the artwork. The double Winda, double Windas actually does come up since all the Despias are dark, so you will occasionally just end on double Winda if your opponent is like able to inherent summon 1 monster with more than 2200 tag. You'll still have at least 1 monster and they recover themselves too, which is cool. That's it for the fusions. We got 1 copy of Omega with the Gamma package. The 1 copy of Boral Sword helps you get damage. The 1 copy of Appaloosa, I do not remember why I put this in there. I think I was running like a Performage engine earlier. Now you don't really need Performage engine, just swap this out for pretty much anything you need. The 1 copy of Shaddoll Construct, I didn't know what else to put in here. But it can come up theoretically if you're fusing into another Shaddoll fusion with two Shaddolls on field. It's also able to recur itself, which is cool, I guess. So that can come up. Cross Sheep, probably the most important link. It's able to recover any of your monsters, and depending on the monster, it can be really good. I'm looking at you, Albert. It's able to just revive Albert, get another search, and searching up Albert every turn doesn't get it old. That's why it's just that strong. You could also potentially, well, I just like to say one thing: take out the Appaloosa, put in a Lambda, please, for the Gamma, since you're never going to make Appaloosa, trust me. You're not going to make it turn 1. But you have Lambda for Gamma, so with Cross Sheep, you have the potential to make an Omega 100. That's just very impractical, very unrealistic too, so just ignore me. You've got the one copy of Anaconda. It's able to send Shaddoll fusion from your deck. You don't get to summon afterwards, unfortunately, but that's just usually fine. Anaconda's gonna be the last thing you make anyways. And finally, the one copy of Gravity Controller, just to link off maybe a Construct or a Winda. So that is kind of the deck. It's actually a pretty cool deck. I don't think I need to really show gameplay. This gameplay is pretty self-explanatory. You're just going to do what just looks obvious. Sometimes you might see a split path, but just try to see the most conclusive answer, if I might say. The deck doesn't really need to show you. I don't really need to show you duels. It's pretty easy to learn. But it's actually pretty cool. You're actually getting a ton of advantage with the Despians. You form resource loops, all of that stuff, and probably coolest thing about the theater is that it's actually a field spell, so you're able to fusion summon every single turn. So you don't have to waste your normal summon like you would have to normal summon Alistair. Pretty cool deck, pretty fun too. If you want to give it a try, go ahead, give it a try. And well, that's kind of the video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.